Are we recording this? Because I'd like this to be the start.
Take one.
I know what an angel investor is. Don't ask me now.
So, no.
But in theory, yes, I do know what an angel investor is.
So am I hearing this right, Bex? One of the benefits of the courses is learning that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Don't be scared to tell Andy.
They got
no.
the audio books. Oh yeah. Was that a test?
Definitely not scared. It'd be quite nice to get a yes every day. So welcome to the viewers at home or anyone watching this. This is part of StrategiQ's What the F is Strategy series. I'm joined here today by our marketing management team, actually our project management team as well, and our client success manager as of yesterday. We thought this would be a great session for us to record and talk around off the back of the start of the year. You all took part in the Augment MBA, which was a slightly different take on the traditional training that you'd have gone through in the marketing world. So what we're going to talk about today is what is Augment MBA, and what was your experience, and how is it going to affect, or how is it affecting your day-to-day lives. For context, the reason that we StrategiQ chose the Augment MBA, because it's not a traditional training course for marketing managers, project managers, but because day to day the contact that happens with business owners as a marketing manager is important, we thought it'd be quite a nice level of experience or course to run through. So it'd be interesting to see what you took from the course. So it'd be quite nice, I think, for those at home or those watching the video, for us to do a quick introduction, name and roles and stuff. Are we cool with that? Mm-hmm. Start with Emma and workground.
Yeah. So my name's Emma Squires. I'm a marketing manager, and I've kind of been in marketing management, account management roles since I've started at StrategiQ about 5 years ago, almost.
Thanks, Em.
I'm Poppy Court. I'm traditionally a paid media manager, but I'm moving into more of a marketing manager role. So taking my paid expertise to that next level to really build that holistic view of marketing as well.
I'm Becky Everson, and I was a marketing manager up until yesterday, as Andy alluded, and moving into a customer success manager role. So again, using everything that I've learned over the last 7 years, which previously was design, then more into sort of the account management strategy side, and now going into the customer success. That's me.
Am I looking at this camera? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm Grace Randall. I'm a project manager here at StrategiQ. I've been here for about 1.5 years now, and I'm particularly focusing on delivering website projects. So looking to push my expertise in that area.
I'm Gemma Raw. I'm a marketing manager at StrategiQ. Absolutely love strategy, and I've been at StrategiQ for 1 year now.
Lovely. Thanks, Gem. Nailed it. Great. Okay, so let's just kick the conversation off, and we'll talk around your experience. I think we've got some questions that we'll work through, and we'll sort of see what comes out in a natural discussion. So first and foremost, who wants to have a sort of stab at what sort of Augment was, and as a course, and what you covered? So let's just kick the conversation off about what Augment MBA is.
Yeah, I'm happy to go. Okay. So Augment is a business MBA program. It covers all kind of aspects of business, from kind of top level strategy to I think there's a new finance module that's been added, but there's also leadership skills in there, sales, negotiation, and there was a really interesting module on entrepreneurship, and she kind of delved into like intrapreneur and how people inside of business take on those roles of creating new things. So I thought that was quite an interesting take on that. But overall, it's a business course, effectively.
Nice. And want to add anything to that?
I think it's also worth pointing out that it's led by kind of bite-sized videos from those that are in the industry that have got the sort of day-to-day knowledge and have built up a wealth of expertise from really big organisations, so YouTube, Amazon, Google. So you're hearing firsthand how those sort of training bits are kind of applied day to day. So that was really interesting for me.
And how long did it take? Because there was different levels of time. I think we said we started in January, but we said end of March would be a realistic time frame. Was it quite a long course to get stuck into? I know they say about hours, but how long?
It took me a couple of months, and I didn't find it that hard to work through, just because the videos are so bite-sized. You actually just keep watching. You find, oh God, I'm like 3 hours in already. So it's quite easy to consume it without getting bored. It's not like your traditional like sit down with a textbook kind of course. It's quite easy to dive in and pick it up, and also you can squeeze it into little gaps. So if you actually only got an hour, you can sit down and just do an hour of it and
work through a module and then it's done.
Yeah, so it took a couple of months. You probably couldn't do it that much quicker than that if you want to get something out of it. But I know that they say you've got like 6 months to complete it or something.
Yeah, how long did it take you, Grace?
2 months as well.
Was it?
Yeah, and it was quite digestible, like you say, having those smaller sections. And it was really good having sort of the quiz at the end of each section as well, so you could apply your learning, and then you'd immediately get the score on that. So then potentially if you didn't get, they would recommend if you got below 80% of that to go through, revise the module again to get above that.
So was it actually a pass and fail? Was it like, did it feel like that as you were going through it?
Not so much.
It wasn't traditionally like you failed, you need to retake it. Like the guys were saying, if you had 80%, you could move on to the next one. But it also quite helpfully sort of shows what the correct answer is.
Okay.
So you can go back and then go, yeah, that's right, and then go through that process of answering the quiz at the end. So at end of each bite-sized little video snippet, there is like a refresher of what have you taken away by answering a couple of the questions.
So I guess by going through that process, it felt less intimidating and more of a learning experience as opposed to a traditional sort of course exam at the end of it, where you get all that anxiety, you pass and fail, and the disappointment if you don't. So it was a nice experience to go through a learning process, without the sort of anxiety. And so 2 months, broadly speaking, all of you got through it, enjoyed it. I guess the first real question then, to really sort of dig into the conversation, is when I looked at Augment MBA and I looked at your roles on a day-to-day basis, and I guess it was, as I said at the start in the intro, is a little bit of a less traditional way of saying, would anyone like to learn about business? What was your initial sort of thought, and why did it excite you, or why did you say yes? Because I offered it to everyone. So you guys were the ones that said, yeah, I'm going to get stuck into it. Why particularly did you get excited about it and take it on?
I think for me, I've done quite a few marketing qualifications, and it was just, there felt like there was a few gaps in my knowledge where I hadn't been exposed to certain parts of business. So it was nice to have a course that kind of dives into all of those in detail. And there'll be stuff that like I revisit and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But obviously you can't like take it all in. But I just found it really useful and was really excited about it from that standpoint.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out, I don't know what module it was. I think we were going to a client meeting and you went, all of these years we've been talking about business valuations.
Yeah, and it was investment rounds.
The stages of investment, like Series A, Series B, and Series B. Which like keep being in these client meetings and have no idea what people are talking around when it came to valuing a business. And this sort of light bulb moment that you're like, I actually now feel like I can have a conversation with a client about what round of funding they're in.
I know what an angel investor is. Don't ask me now, because. But in theory, yes, I do know what an angel investor is. So as soon as a client mentions it, it's kind of. It's built on the gaps that I had in my knowledge, so I'm not just nodding along in a meeting, thinking I know what's going on.
And I think that was my main motivation, because knowing the amount of conversations that you have as your career sort of evolves, and I never, went through it in the early stages of my career, and I just think some of the basics of feeling like you should know what an angel investor is if you're a marketing manager in a boardroom meeting talking about marketing strategy. You know, it's that I think that's probably the biggest win for me. It's just the subtle language and the confidence to be in the boardroom. So that's interesting. Nice. Anyone else?
I think from my side of things, because I'd been so focused on just the paid delivery for so many years, I felt as though the more conversations I was having with clients, I needed to come out of that and build my knowledge kind of beyond just the paid delivery side of things. So I think for me, it was just understanding more about how does a business operate and just those fundamentals that I'd never been exposed to. So yeah, that was really important for me.
Nice.
I think also, when you're talking to clients, you're dealing with people who are heading up really large businesses who make big decisions on a daily basis. So being able to understand and have the expertise that were coming from industry experts as to how and what they've done through their career, they were almost like passing down really valuable information for us to take away, to then take to our clients, so that you're on more of a level playing field. Thought that was one of the key highlights.
And have you sort of flexed your muscles a bit in conversations?
A little, but not too
Have
much.
you spoken to a client and said, "Oh, by the way, the head of SO did this when they were in that situation"? Have you referenced it?
I haven't name dropped, no, but I think it's more about the process that they went through and the learnings and what they advise you to do has massively helped in terms of like bigger picture and bigger conversations.
It was nice as well because it wasn't just like working through a business criteria. It was almost like they brought in experiences that they've had and used them as examples. So
failures as well as like successes.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually saying that their failures are bigger, as bigger learnings than some of the successes that they've had.
Yeah, and they've worked with like lots of influential people in different industries. So they've got like such a wealth of experience that you wouldn't just get from a business textbook. It's their own lived experiences.
Yeah, lovely.
I think for me, it's been particularly valuable with the discovery phase of website projects. So it's really get to grips with understanding the business and how their wider objectives are then sort of consolidating down into the deliverables of a website. And just having that wider understanding of why that project is taking place.
Yeah, I think, and also if you come out of that, and I think you alluded to it, if you come out of that pure marketing brain, I'm a marketer, you know, and actually, if you expand the knowledge of the decision-making process that the clients or business owners, could traditionally we deal with business owners or business leaders, right? So understanding the problem they're trying to solve, it might be a website project, but it's to drive value of the business, right? The reason that we exist as marketers is to try and to improve the value of the organisations we work for. So understanding what drives value at a business level means that you're not a project manager delivering a website, you're delivering something bigger than, and I think that's the connection that I was hoping we were going to make in the process, that yes, there's a sort of self-confidence part of I can sit in a room and I can have a conversation, but also there's a value part of why we exist past just the project that's in front of us. That makes sense? Yeah. Nice. So other learnings, other sort of how's it changed your thinking on a day-to-day basis? And how's it, well, not so much changed, how's it impacted your thinking on a day-to-day basis? And are there any examples, and I said earlier about have you flexed your muscles and in the business, in the boardroom, but how has it impacted your thinking at a deeper level then, in any way?
So there was one module, was it the strategy module with the guy that created Waze? Yeah. I can never pronounce his surname. Yuri Levine. Yeah. I was just, that module for me will always stick with me because I didn't understand Waze I'd never used Waze as a product until I watched it. For anybody that doesn't know, Waze is a Google Maps equivalent. But the way that he has built Waze is basically from how the customer has used it. So it's evolved based on the customer. And I think for a lot of the thinking that I do in terms of strategy with clients that I work with, it's more about what do we need to do as a business, not how does the customer use the product or the service. And it really got me thinking about how do our customers work and how are they influencing the product, and therefore how does the marketing need to influence how we sell that product. So it's not just looking at what does the business need to achieve, but it's looking at what does the customer need to get from the business to help the business achieve.
He talked about being obsessed with the problem, which obviously is something that we use in our strategies anyway from a marketing perspective, but that kind of stuck with me with how we talk about strategic as well, because often we go into like, this is all of the things we're great at, but we forget what value is that for the customer. So in the Waze example, he used, okay, we're building a traffic navigation system versus we're helping people avoid traffic jams on their commute. And it's so much more emotive, and it kind of talks to that, the value that it brings to the customer. So yeah, I think for me, that was kind of a really big takeaway as well.
And the amount of learnings that they were taking, again, the mistakes, they thought that the customer needed this, but actually then listening to all of the data and the feedback that was coming through from those that were actually using it, it was like, we need to go in a completely different direction, excuse the pun, but they needed to pivot, in terms of what they thought their customers needed, like you were saying, was completely something different.
So am I hearing this right, Bex? One of the benefits of the courses is learning that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Actually,
Pay for
better things come from making mistakes.
Exactly.
That's worth all of the cost. Right there.
Bex has learned not to feel the fear of failing.
Acceptable. Anything you want to add?
I think one of my biggest learnings as well was that it's okay to fail, and that's, like you said before, that's where the biggest learnings come from, because I'm a perfectionist, which I know I shouldn't be, and that's quite hard to sort of overcome. So it's learning those sort of valuable lessons from getting things wrong.
And I think what's nice about that is, you know, the MBA is just a vehicle for sort of personal growth, right? The reason we do training is, and you probably wouldn't have got that from a marketing course.
No.
You know, taking ourselves away from marketing for a while and go, okay, what does it feel like to own, lead, run, start up a business? And what are the pain points that our clients or your clients are going through on a day-to-day basis, and trying to understand that and empathise with that will make us better marketeers. So yeah, that's an interesting takeaway, that actually is a life lesson in there, that you're seeing people on screens making mistakes, or the people training or delivering the training are making mistakes.
Yeah, it was refreshing to actually hear it from industry experts, because sometimes I think there's this false illusion that they get it perfect and it's right every time. But to hear them actually say it and go through that experience was really beneficial.
And you know, again, just on that point, business owners and leaders, and you know, business is about making mistakes. You know, how many times have you heard me say 50% of what I do is crap? 50% is good. 51% getting it right is good enough. Anything you'd want to add before we?
I think for me, it's the kind of idea of problem solving and speaking to the customers, but also I really found the sales module really interesting, and this idea that people don't want to be sold to, they want to buy, and they want to have a really good experience within that buying process. And I've always been really nervous when it comes to kind of proposing different bits, but actually just getting the client excited about what the potential is and what the value of that is going to be. So I think that for me was really important.
So remind me what the actual modules were. How many modules were there?
So there was 6. There's now 7.
There's 7. And what are the modules?
So there's strategy. I'm looking down because I've written them down.
Strategy and innovation.
Strategy and innovation, entrepreneurship, leadership, sales and negotiation, business operations, management, and then finance.
Brilliant. Who liked the finance one?
We haven't done it. It's the new one.
Is that the one they've just added?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So what was the standout? What was the favourite then around the room? What was your favourite? You said was it strategy innovation?
I think strategy probably was my favourite. That's the one that got me the most. But I did like the sales one. I loved the way that they talked about being a trusted advisor, not a salesperson.
A trusted director, rather than don't be that, be the trusted advisor.
And it was more around how a sale is easy to do if the relationship is there. If you build the rapport with somebody, the sale is simple.
Wow, not being scared of sales.
I think
That's a step forward. I love that.
On the back of that, they also said about making sure you talk to them from an emotive side of things, which is what you were saying, and saying changing and rephrasing it so that it's not what keeps you up at night, but what drives you and what gets you up in the morning. And driving that positivity from the client so that you're seeing as being that positive problem solver for them.
Yeah, nice.
I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, again, that's not something you'll get from a marketing course, is it?
No.
We should put the whole company through this, really. I'm not thinking about it like this. So, favourite course, strategy, innovation,
yes.
sales, did you say?
Leadership.
Yours was leadership, why?
Yeah, I think there were some really nice time management processes that will really help me, both from what I was doing with the project management and account management and marketing management side, but now going also into customer success. Because it will change. And there were some absolute nuggets in there that I will definitely take away. The 3 rocks, pebbles, sand.
Is that filling the jar up?
Filling the jar up, making
Put
sure.
Put the rocks in first.
Yeah, making sure that I've, it's supposedly one big thing, but usually my day ends up, the pebbles get longer, more into rocks than pebbles. So one of my big nemesis that I need to keep working on, but I took away from was that analogy.
Nice. What was your favourite?
Mine was leadership.
Was it?
Definitely, yeah. I loved Anne Hyatt. She was brilliant, and how she talked through everything.
What did she talk about?
So she spoke around the rocks, pebble, sand, which was really helpful for me as well in terms of like milestones around project management. And it was just being effective with the use of time, particularly in meetings. So that was really helpful. But it was also a piece around how she had to see herself as like the calm in the storm. So if everyone's stressing and panicking about timelines, it's being that kind of voice of reason, making sure everyone's aligned, that reassurance of being like everything's going to be okay, and just kind of redefining those goals and what's expected of everyone.
Lovely.
Yeah, I like that section the most.
She used weather quite a bit actually, because she also talked around about making sure that meetings are not just weather reports.
It's a good point.
So I thought that was another nice takeaway.
Favourite?
It's hard to pick, but I would say probably leadership and strategy. I really liked how Anne said about imposter syndrome as well, because I think it's something that you assume that no one else suffers with. And she's sitting there and she's had this incredible career and she's saying like, I suffer with imposter syndrome as well. And she said, you want to feel that because it means that you're growing. So that was a really nice takeaway. But I also loved Yuri.
What specifically interested you in the Augment MBA then individually when I sent the email out? What was it that sparked your interest? I'll go to Emma first just because I'm direct.
So I love learning and I have done my CIM qualification, and that is very much quite textbook based and exam based and very structured and loads of information, and then you've got to try and remember it and regurgitate it back. So I've kind of done that style of learning, and even though I love doing it, I find it really tricky in that way to retain the information and then read it back when it comes to an exam. So I always wanted to do a little bit more in business, and I did feel like, as Gemma said, that there were areas in my knowledge that were lacking. So when you mentioned it, I thought, actually, I'm just going to throw myself at it. I want to learn. And then the way that the course was kind of broken down in those individual modules and video versus text and a little bit of a quiz, and then there's not a big scary exam at the end, I was all in.
Nice. Great.
For me, I haven't had any sort of formal qualifications or training behind marketing before, so I was really keen to get something sort of under my belt with that and to support my career journey into project management. And particularly with the course being focused around industry experts talking around their experiences, that was a big appeal as well. And like Emma said, no big scary test.
It's a nice lead into it, isn't it? Into learning. It's a nice sort of, it's not intimidating process to go. I don't think we really knew that at the start of it, you know. And obviously, I'd looked into the course, and you know, hence we signed up. But I think it's nice if you've not had too much structured training in that format. It probably putting words in your mouth, but it's probably less intimidating doing the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Jem?
Similarly to Emma, really, but just like I've done CIM, I've done the Digital Marketing Institute, and I just wanted something a bit bigger than that to kind of step out of that marketing brain and think more about businesses, because there were some gaps in my knowledge that I didn't because I'd never been exposed to it, because I've never set up a business, like the only way to learn is by doing a course or setting up a business. So I found that really useful and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and again, coming back to the conversation that we had, at the start around day to day, you're dealing with business people.
Yeah.
And the more knowledge you have about what their world is really like, and the more empathy you can have. And if you have empathy, then you'll build relationships and all the stuff that comes off the back of it. I think it's great.
I think for me it was having a bit more structure in terms of my training and giving me a sense of direction. I think for me it was kind of just, I don't really know where I want to take my learning and my training, so I kind of looked at this and thought, okay, it's a chance to just see what else is out there and kind of where I can then start to sort of look at kind of specialising in sort of other areas of sort of business management and develop my overall marketing skills. And the fact that it's taught by people that have been there and done it and can share their experiences was really encouraging for me. So yeah, that was the main reason.
Nice. Finally, Bex?
Like Grace, I've not had any formal marketing qualifications. My background coming into where I am has been very different. So to have that broad understanding as to how a business works, right from the start through to sales, through to the onboarding, through to how you can then learn that in our industry and across all of our clients, was incredibly valuable and appealed to me when I looked at the kind of subjects that were going to be covered. To then, as you said, build upon the relationships that we've got with our clients and being able to have that next level conversation to really understand some of the big decisions that they need to make that we're going to support them and influence with, was a huge driver.
Nice. And actually, if you think about how life sort of weirdly sort of works out, if you look at your new role now and think about customer success within Strategic, and being able to empathise with a customer and thinking about, the next 6 months of you is sort of plotting out what the customer experience is.
Yep.
From our business to our clients, that knowledge is now going to be invaluable in terms of, I understand that part of the process needs to really focus on this. So,
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, nice, like that.
I've got one more takeaway I haven't mentioned.
Go.
So obviously we map customer journeys for clients all the time, and we try and alleviate any frictions, because all friction is seen as negative, but actually they talked about some positive frictions as well. So when you're on Skyscanner, when you click search, it takes a while to generate, which makes you feel like it's searching for the best deal. Yeah. And you don't always consider that when you're thinking about the customer journey, because we want to deliver things quickly so the customer's still there. But actually that was really interesting. And like they said about payments as well, and like when you make payments online, it feels safer if it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I think for me as well is just applying that to customer journeys where that's necessary as well.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff coming out that I didn't even think about. I'm pretty gutted I gave my seat up. Good. Okay, so where are you going to take it now then? I think it's kind of what are you going to do with this? Because it feels like we've got a bit of an appetite for understanding business. Has anyone got any sort of plans to continue with that thinking? And you talked about earlier about sort of changing how you might structure your learning journey. Has that opened up any thoughts for anyone?
I think for me, I really want to look more about buyer psychology and kind of what triggers can help to support kind of that sales process as well, and kind of more about the consumer mindset. I think is a really good takeaway.
So almost like your favourite module and expanding that. I think you said sales was the favourite bit. So where could you go with sales? That's an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Careful clients.
Have you read Alchemy?
Yes, it's amazing.
So good, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Cool. Em?
Well, I said my favourite was strategy, but I'm already kind of starting to apply it. When I mentioned about how customers impact their products, I don't think necessarily me personally have dug into my customers' as much as I should. So even this week I had a call with a client, and we kind of started that process of talking about, here's an industry that I know you want to focus in. Do we know who is that person that we need to be talking to? Yeah, so already starting to have those conversations. So I think for me, where I want to take it is more down a looking at the customer route and digging into the personas and just kind of getting that next level of detail.
Is anyone, nice, is just you were talking now, kind of thinking about the modules and setup, has anyone sort of thinking more about finance.
I definitely want to look
I
at
am
it.
going to do the module.
Yeah, I am excited to do the module.
Yeah, because I think that's the one that is the natural flow now, isn't it? Because if you can get an understanding from the financial decisions clients are having to make, especially if you think about the real life challenges that businesses are having now, and the conversations we have around how much to invest in marketing, return on investment, especially in paid, you know, those finances, getting a deeper understanding of the how to structure a business financially and profit and loss, and you know, if you can sort of upskill that over the next module, you should have a bit more empathy for me, maybe.
We do have those conversations all the time, don't we? Clients will come to us and say, I want to grow my business this year. What do I do? Oh, but my marketing budget is still 1% of my overall revenue. And you think, well,
we did that for that big insights piece, didn't we, for a client, where we actually looked at the market sizing, and we looked at the opportunity, and we looked at the P&L, and we looked at the growth plan, then we looked at the marketing budget, and we go, oh.
And everything was all in different places.
This could be a challenge. So that, but again, having a knowledge of the thinking behind that, at the, you know, whatever stage you're at, you know, whether it's in terms of your career, the earlier you can get sight of that, and the earlier you can get some understanding of that, the more, I suppose, the more gravitas you'll have in meetings. Because you won't be so intimidated by the conversation. That's, for me, the biggest part of the MBA for you guys going through the process is to try and remove some of the intimidation in a client meeting, and actually sit there with your shoulders back and go, actually, I'm not going to have imposter syndrome in this meeting. I can hold myself because I've got a base level knowledge. So it's quite nice. Yeah, where are you going to take it? What's next?
I think there's two aspects to it. So it's a day-to-day with the leadership and the kind of rocks, paper, sands, and then chairing internal meetings. Yeah. But for projects in particular, it's having that sort of business mindset throughout the entirety of the project. So not losing that from the beginning, and making sure we're always reverting back to the scope. And we've got the customer and the business.
Yeah, nice. I think having the customer and the business, but also that kind of realization that you're not building a product, you're adding value to a business, and not losing sight of what's the value of getting this right or wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, imagine a situation where we launch a project, a campaign, or we do some insights, and it's not well informed, and it doesn't have the impact because we haven't done the thinking. But if you can keep the business in the back of your mind at all times, then an understanding of the implication of getting something right or wrong is quite a powerful position to be in. But knowing that, and not just feeling, and we talk about this, you know, not getting into task mode because you come into work, you do your job. The impact that we have positively and negatively on a business is huge, and having a business course underpinning that feels like the right thing to do. I feel like I should have to put everyone through it now. Because I'm talking about it, I'm thinking like. Good. Is there any kind of words of wisdom around the MBA or the learning that we haven't sort of covered or we sort of spoken about? Is anything?
She talked about managing from the middle in the leadership module. I think I could probably get better at that.
Yeah.
Just because, you assume that the people above you should manage downwards, but actually like most of the time it's about managing upwards as 100%. Well. So that's something I think I need to work on.
Yeah. So leadership is something that has sort of sparked a bit more of an interest from...
Possibly, not necessarily like leading the way, but I think just, being able to have difficult conversations with more senior people, and try and manage like expectations a little bit better as well.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. 2 books there. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Don't be scared to tell Andy.
They've got
no.
the audiobooks. Oh yeah. Was that
She's definitely not scared of that. It'd be quite nice to get a yes every day. Brilliant. Well, listen, I thought that was great. I think that was exactly what I was hoping was going to come out of the conversation. So thanks for taking time out of your busy days. And hopefully those watching have taken some inspiration to expand knowledge past your day job and start thinking more about, gaining knowledge in areas that you, or gaining knowledge around areas around business, and understanding that what we do on a day-to-day basis does influence the business we work with or work for. So, thank you. Well done.